Tribal tax collectors and other outcasts would often gather around Jesus to listen to him tell stories. But the separated ones, the Pharisees, and the scroll keepers would complain about this. They would say things like, "This man welcomes outcasts to join him at the table and eat with him." On one of the occasions, Jesus told them a story. There was a man with 2 sons. The younger son said to his father, "Father, give me now my share of the inheritance coming to me." But the father, who was good-hearted and loved his sons, divided all he had with his 2 sons anyway. Not long after that, the younger son took his share and went far away to another land. There he spent it all on extravagant living, and within a short time had nothing left. The time came when there was not enough food in the land for everyone, and the son found himself poor and hungry. So he went to work for a rancher, who sent him out to feed the pigs. He became so hungry that he wanted to eat the husk he was feeding to the pigs, but no one would even give him a meal. Soon the younger son came back to his senses and said to himself, "Look, here I am, naked and starving, but the people who work for my father are well fed. I am going back to humble myself to my father. I will tell him that I have dishonored both him and the Spirit, and I am no longer worthy to be called his son. I will ask him just to let me be hired to work in the field." He then made up his mind and began to go home. While he was still far away, his father saw him walking. The father's heart opened wide with compassion, and he ran to see his son, hugged him in a big embrace, and kissed him. The son said, "Father, I have failed God and you. I am not worthy to be called your son." But the father ignored his son's words, turned to his servants, and said, "Go, find my best outfit and put on him. Give him the family ring for his finger and new shoes for his feet. Go get the biggest cow and prepare a great feast for a celebration. This is my son. He was lost, but I have found him. He was dead to me, and now he is alive." Then they all began to feast, sing, and dance. Now the older son was just returning from a hard day's work in the field. He heard the music and dancing, so he asked one of the servants what was going on. The servant told him, "Your brother has come home, and your father has prepared a great feast for him, because he is alive and well." Hearing this, the older son became very angry and refused to go into the lodge. The father saw him brooding outside, so he went to him and urged him to come in. The older son said to his father, "Why can you not see? I have worked hard for you all my life and done all that you have asked of me, but you have not even given me one small goat to have a feast with my friends. But when this son of yours, who wasted all you gave him, comes home, you kill the biggest cow for him." The father said, "My child, you are always close to my heart, and everything I have is yours. But it is a great thing for us to celebrate with joyful hearts, for your brother was dead, but is now alive. He was lost, but now we have found him."
Thank you, Darin. One of my favorite comedy shorts is this bank commercial from a few years ago. It takes place in New York City, and it starts out on the viewing deck of the Empire State Building. And it shows a man who is trying to look through one of those binocular machines where you can see out into the city. And while he's trying to pay for it, he accidentally drops his bank card over the edge and off the building. Then the commercial switches to a car driving down the street with a wallet on the rooftop, which then falls off the top of a car as it rounds a corner. Yikes. Well, then the scene switches to a woman getting out of a cab with what she thinks is a purse, only to find that she is just holding the purse straps because the door has closed suddenly, leaving her purse within. She watches as the cab drives away, and she then goes to the bank to get a new card, and a voice comes over that says, "We understand people lose things." And so she's there at the counter with her new card and a big smile on her face. But once she gets the new card, as she goes to walk away, the person at the bank says, "Oh, miss, don't forget your phone." Well, it goes like that sometimes, doesn't it? Sometimes I lose things too. My wallet, my phone, my keys, as you heard before. In fact, when I went to Boston last year, I bought a lanyard for my car keys so I could keep up with it. Now, my keys are only allowed to be either in my front pocket or in the heart-shaped key container that's right inside the doorway of my apartment. I had to take control on that one. Now, I don't know about you, but when I discover that I've lost something, I've had this short feeling of panic, like the air lifts, and seems like because of it, I lose a little piece of myself in the process. And so it's one thing to accidentally lose something. Let me share with you a story about giving something up. Once, about 20 years ago, there was a woman in Oregon who won $1 million on a scratch-off lottery ticket. Some fortune. She cashes in the ticket and starts spending the money. And a couple of weeks go by, and the authorities discover that she purchased the ticket under a false identity. Apparently, she used the credit card of her boyfriend's mother, who happened to be deceased. And needless to say, when they took away her winnings, and prosecuted her. But you see, the crazy thing is, the reason why they found out, that even though she had won the jackpot, the $1 million, she still kept using that credit card. Why would someone risk a fortune that was certain only to gamble on risky behavior? And that might be the question we would ask this prodigal son from the story if we could meet him face to face. Now, this young man has a loving home and family. He seems to be well provided for. He has a family inheritance waiting for him. And the presumption is that someday in the distant future, he'll be mature enough to handle it wisely. But he seems to choose to take the money and head off on his own. I wonder why gamble when that fortune was there already. When our gospel story for the day, we encounter a story about a son who has disowned himself, a selfish brother, and a loving parent that desires for them all to be together again. A son demands his family inheritance early, then goes and lives extravagantly for a while, eventually squandering the money in the process. And only when the cash runs out does he finally decide to go home. And when he does return home, his father welcomes him in with joyful abandon, with a hug and a kiss and a lavish celebration in honor of the occasion. On the one hand, we have a younger sibling who is lost and confused and felt to be ashamed. He's found work on a ranch in order to make ends meet, and he's even so broke that he can't afford to eat well. And then it occurs to him that back home on his parents' ranch, that the staff eat pretty well. That life there might be better than the mess he seems to have gotten himself into. That if he could just get home, he would have a place to sort himself out. He says, I'll go back home and Dad will be upset, but surely he will at least take me back as a worker. And on the other hand, we have a loving parent. And who is this grace-filled parent who just hands over the fortune to their son on their demand, even though the premature request for the inheritance means the son is actually rejecting his identity and his family? And not only that, but then this loving father stands on the porch and watches the boy go out into the world, knowing his son all too well. He knows the money won't last forever, and he knows all too well that the world will then respond with closed hands and closed doors. So the son goes down one road, but the father stays put, like a loving parent, always scanning the same horizon he saw his child leave, watching the road for a day when things will be different. And so one day, when the prodigal finally appears on the road, prepared for chastisement, prepared for servanthood, prepared for banishment even, the loving parent sees them in the distance and runs toward him in a state of joyful abandon, and then embrace him with exuberant, unconditional acceptance before a single word is spoken by the son. They joyfully welcome him home anyway. Now, it's hard for us to understand what an incredible picture this is unless we know that in those days the men wore long robes, and men of age and stature such as this one in the story did not run. It was not dignified for them. But the boy's father loved his son more than dignity, and loved him so much, he gave him an extravagant, gracious welcome home. And such is the nature of God's gracious love that even if we squander the incredible fortune that is God's love and gamble on pleasure that never lasts, that God does not stay put. That God does not stay frozen in anger or resentment. No, my friends, God runs towards us. God runs up the road again and again and again, propelled by grace to meet us where we are. Then, like a parent so overcome with joy, God throws an exuberant and expensive party in celebration. Now, in the story, the older son says, hey, this isn't fair. It doesn't work that way, Jesus. And to that, Jesus would say that grace itself isn't fair. That grace isn't earned, but a gift given in love. That God would embrace us as we are, and in that embrace, in that welcome, God would give us opportunity to heal. Because God's love and grace come first. The embrace and the kiss from God comes first, rather than trying to earn a way into God's good graces. So the story offers us a vision of what loving acceptance looks like, that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, that you could be welcomed by God, that God gives us the courage to extend God's gracious welcome to others and to make inclusive spaces of extravagant welcome and belonging. So, in closing, I'll say, we believe in a God that loves all people without exception. We believe in a Jesus that modeled a radical and inclusive love. And we believe in a church that is called to be a reflection of that love. That it would be a beacon of hope and healing in a world that too often divides and excludes. Amen.